he came across as a very, very gentle, very, very calm man. And he integrated so well into the groups. Everybody liked him because he had this calm, kind of kind way about him. And he sat with other students who weren't very good at maths, and he helped them. Like, there was one lady that he sat next to every week in the foundation class, and she was a loud scouser, and she was the opposite from him. Right. But he kind of befriended her, and she was the weakest in maths. I thought, she's never going to pass. And she passed because of him, and he helped her every week, and they became kind of quite close in that learning environment.
Wow.
And then when in the summer, when they got their results, my father had died just before the results came out, and I didn't go down to the hall where they were all getting their results. And he appeared on the corridor where I was, and he could tell I was upset. And I told him that my father had died, and he was, his reaction was just full of compassion. And he then wrote me a really beautiful letter, which I've got somewhere, but I haven't read it for years, but it'll be somewhere. And, it was obviously Christian,
Yeah.
but that was my experience of that person's father, And I just think that gets lost out there, where people make all manner of assumptions, about the parents and say all kinds of things about the parents. And I just kind of want people to know that that's what I experienced as that man's father.
How have you been processing what we've all been processing, but with your very personal perspective on the family?
Well, it's just, like, obviously, it's a horrendous thing, in Southport, living in Southport, and it was an unbelievable thing, but it was just made worse and what made more personal to me because I knew the father. I've met lots of people who knew the families of the girls. I sort of helped with the flowers. I went and helped with the flowers, so I talked to lots of people who were bringing flowers and to the centre of Southport, and I did that over the summer. But at the same time, I wanted people to know. I didn't want his parents just written off, because they didn't do it.
And a lot of the
I'm sure
language.
They'll be devastated.
Well, there's a big headline in one newspaper today asking whether they could and should have done more. It's a question we've turned our attention to on this programme. I think it's an inevitable human reaction, but it's an unanswerable question, really. Have you? And you don't have to answer this. Have you thought about reaching out to him?
I have. Well, the only way I could, because I don't like, we can't keep contact details. And this, it was years ago. Okay. It was probably 8 years ago. He was my student, and you don't keep in touch with people like that. But I did. I have seen something online where I've tried to. I've tried to because.
And he was a great comfort to you when you lost your father.
Well, yes, I just always remembered, and, I probably kept that letter, and I'd never met anybody from Rwanda before, and, there was this sadness about him, which I kind of always thought probably comes from what he's experienced. Yes. It gave me the sense that they'd experienced something,
what do you know,
terrible.
Just tell me when you've had enough, because this can't be an easy conversation for you to have, but what did he talk about the rest of the family much? Because there's a brother, I think, who's confined to a wheelchair, isn't there?
Well, yes, So when he never mentioned the younger one, which is Axel Rudakubana,
right.
But the elder one, I remember him being really concerned and talking about him having this mystery condition, which was resulting in him losing the use of his legs.
Right.
And him being really concerned, and because I kind of just thought things just, I think he was driving a taxi, the father, and was a very bright man, and, had aspirations in terms of maybe becoming an accountant. He even said he would like to be a maths teacher. Right. And I thought, gosh, things seem to be hard for you. And then he was telling me this really sad story about his son, and he's telling me how good his son was at maths. So he came across as a very caring, kind parent.
Can only begin to imagine what they're going through, can't you?
No, can't imagine.
No, you're right.
Can't imagine.
You can't.
But the people, I've told lots of people,
of
and some people, they just haven't got any time for it. They just, they don't want to hear my story about, because they've got no sympathy. But a lot of people also have got sympathy for the parents.
To have sympathy for the people who don't have sympathy, at risk of overcomplicating matters, is that it helps people process the unprocessable, doesn't it? To sometimes make the easy to draw the easy conclusions and to make the easy finger pointing of blame, because it takes away the sense of chaos. It takes away the really frightening thought that this is random and chaotic, and that life is random and chaotic, and none of us really like that thought. Gosh, Catherine, you've been through it yourself a bit, I imagine, in the weeks.
Well, it takes up your headspace.
Yes, yeah. I got a message this morning of someone called Sue asking what I do to separate yourself from the news sometimes. I think referring more to the political spectrum, the political landscape, than this issue. Catherine, thank you. I know that wouldn't have been an easy call to make, but I wish you all the very best. And what you've reminded us of is humanity, actually. And he demonstrated, the killer's father demonstrated great humanity to you. And at the moment, no one except you, as far as I'm aware, is demonstrating much humanity to him.